Hello Picasso pups, Miss B here. I'm going to show you a demonstration of our line rug project. So the materials that I need are going to be my watercolor paints and a paintbrush, a cup with some water in it, a piece of paper, and my oil pastels. So in the book and in the video that you watched and the artist Kandinsky, we've learned that there's all different types of lines. The first step is you're going to use a variety of colors of oil pastels, and Miss B sent you plenty, and we're going to create some different types of lines that are going to go from the top to the bottom of your page. For example, I'm going to use my blue oil pastel and create zigzag lines. You may remember we would call this up the mountain, down the mountain, up the mountain, down the mountain. Now I'm going to use my purple. You can use any color you want. You don't have to use the exact colors Miss B's using. And I'm going to make a wavy line. Whoosh, whoosh, like the ocean or the sea. Now I'm going to make what we call a broken line. A line that has skips. So we go line in space, line in space, line in space. Just like that. This time, I'm going to make a dotted line. So we're just going to go dot, 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 all the way from the top to the bottom of our paper. Next, I'm going to make, let's see, I think I'll make a swirly line. So I'm going to repeat my swirls in a line so they can make a new kind of line. So swirly, 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 swirly. This time I'm going to make a diagonal line by repeating short diagonal lines. So I'm just repeating a short diagonal line, and when they're all close together like that in a row, then they make their own line. Last but not least, how about we try a line that's made with, gosh, what shall I do? I think I'm going to try crisscrosses. Crisscross, just like this. It kind of looks like the letter X, doesn't it? You can use any kind of shape that repeats to make a line. So we're going to go all the way from the top to the bottom of the page, just like that. Once we've got all of our variety of lines, our next step is going to be to use our watercolors, and we're going to paint the spaces that we created in between our types of lines. Now my watercolors are all sleeping, so to wake them up, we have to dip it in the water, dip it in the paint. Dip it in the water, dip it in the paint. Dip it in the water, dip it in the paint until you get a nice little puddle there underneath. Now you're going to notice that by using our oil pastels first, when we put the watercolor over top, it's like magic how those oil pastels still show up, even though we drew a line there. The paint does not cover them up because the wax pushes the water from the watercolors away from the paintbrush. And so then we still see our lines showing up even though we're painting right over top of them. So this time I'm going to pick another color, and I'm going to use this color to paint over. Now notice that when I'm making my choices, I'm not choosing the same color paint as the oil pastel that's underneath. I'm doing that because I'm trying to kind of create some contrast here. So contrast is when two things are different. Like on the color wheel, colors that are across from each other are called complementary colors, and they make for good contrast in your artwork. So cover that space with that color. So I used orange on top of the blue. This time I think I'll get some yellow. So I'm going to dip it in the water, dip it in the paint. dip it in the water, dip it in the paint until I get a nice puddle of paint down there. Boy, this yellow was really sleepy. It's taking a lot of water to wake it up. So I'm going to use this yellow. I'm going to paint the yellow right over top of the purple, and look how it still shows. Even though I'm painting right over top of it, the oil pastels resist the water, and our lines will still show through even with our colored paint over top. So I'm going to keep painting with different colors, creating a good variety. This time I'm going to make some orange. Now, in order to make the orange, I have to mix my red and my yellow. Red plus yellow is going to give me orange. And I'm going to paint that right over top of this green, because I think that's going to look kind of cool. I think Miss B should have got a bigger brush, is what I think. This small brush isn't maybe the best tool for my job, but it'll do. So maybe you don't always have a lot of different brushes to choose from when you're working at home. So do the best you can with what you have. Okay. Just filling this in with the dark blue there. Then I'm going to switch to the light blue. And I'm going to have to wake that one up because it's been sleeping. And I'm going to use that light blue, cerulean blue, over top of my pink. Wow, I really like the way that one looks. And you know what else I noticed is having the colors go in a variety like this, it really shows some nice color relationships next to each other. And you see what's happening here, friends? The colors are bumping right up against each other and making new colors, which is awesome. It's like magic, a magical surprise of color. All right, let's try some magenta. Now, to see what this magenta looks like over top of the red. Oh yeah, I'm really liking that. That looks really cool. This one doesn't have a lot of contrast between the two colors, but I'm really enjoying the effect that I'm getting. So Miss B is working pretty quickly, but you of course can take your time because you are doing your learning at home, which means you get to set your schedule. Okay, last but not least, what color have I not used? I have not done green. So I'm going to take this blue color. I'm using the top of my watercolor set as my palette. Remember, the palette is where we mix our colors because we don't want to mix them in our little tubs because that'll change the color kind of forever. Oh, that's a nice bright green. Look at that. Wow. Wow, I really like that. Really like that green there. Now with watercolors, the more water you use, the lighter your color paint's going to be. So if you want your colors to be a little more intense, then you're going to use a little more pigment. But remember, watercolors are meant to be used with water. We don't paint with them like they're the other kinds of paint, like they're the temper paints. We paint with them with lots of water so that they're going to last. All right, and there we go, Picasso Pups. We've got all of our colors on there. We've got all of our nice line variety. Our last step is going to be to use our scissors. Miss B's going to grab her scissors. And we're going to use our scissors, and I'm going to cut on the short end of each side of my paper. I should probably wait for it to dry, but I'm going to make short cuts in a row. Please be careful not to put your hand in front of your scissors. I don't want anybody to get hurt, so we have to be safe and keep our other hand away from where we are cutting. This is good practice for Picasso pups that are learning to cut also. We're just going snip, 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 just like that. If you want to have fringe all the way around your rug, by all means you can do that, but Miss B is going to just leave so you can see with my little cuts. I'm going to kind of bend the paper around a little bit so that my fringe really shows up. Wow, look at that. That's exciting.